It's time for my 2024-25 Dallas Stars predictions. Do they repeat as Central champs? Do they finally get over the hump? Who leads the team in points and bold predictions? All that and more next on Locked On Stars.
You're Locked On Stars, your daily podcast on the Dallas Stars, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Howdy, Stars fans. I'm Joey Erickson, former producer of 105 Through the Fan. Please be sure to subscribe. We are free and available wherever you get your podcasts and on YouTube. And as always, thank you so much for making us a part of your day and making us your first listen. The NHL season is finally here, which means it's time for my Dallas Stars predictions. I have them all written down, and we are going to go through every single one. Where do the Stars finish in the Central, in the West? Who leads them in points this season? I have 3 bold predictions for you as well. And how does the season end? Stick around for that segment as well on a Tuesday episode of Locked On Stars. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Place your first $5 bet and you'll get started with $200 in bonus bets guaranteed. Visit FanDuel.com to get started. Cannot wait for the NHL to kick off here this afternoon. 3 games on the docket. Of course, the Stars, though, kick off their season on Thursday against the Nashville Predators, and we will be locked and loaded for that one on Thursday night. But first, let's go ahead and dive in to our Central predictions for the 2024-25 season. The Central, I think, is going to be an absolute gauntlet. It looks like it's going to perhaps be the best team, or the best division, I should say, in the entire NHL, and possibly the best team comes out of it as well. I think the Dallas Stars repeat as Central Division champs. That's my first prediction. After their second best regular season in franchise history, I think they follow it up with another good season, but not quite as good as last year. They finished 50, 23-9. That's good enough for 109 points. And I know the Central Division champion over the last few seasons has had more than 110. I think both teams are, a host of teams are going to regress just quite a bit. And I think the Stars finish first in the Central with a 50, 23-9 record for 109 points. That is my first prediction for the 2024-25 season. I'll go ahead and go down the entire list of the Central. There are some teams I really like this season. Colorado, number 2. No surprise there. I think they can be up in the air of having a really disappointing season. I think they're a team that could be the most disappointing in 24-25. But I think they keep it together because Nathan MacKinnon is a beast. Mikko Rantanen and Cale Makar, Devontae's, they have enough up front. They lack some depth, but I think up front, they still have enough high-end talent to really compete in the Central. So they come in at number 2. I get the Nashville Predators jumping up to the 3rd spot. I like the moves they made in the offseason, of course, bringing in Steven Stamkos and Jonathan Marchessault to an offense that was already good with a lot of young talent. UC Saros is a bona fide number 1. They bring in Scott Wedgwood. I think they finish 3rd, and they get back into the top 3 in the Central Division. I got the Wild coming in at number 4. Minnesota makes a huge jump. We talked to Seth last week. I just think they're too talented to have such a bad start like they did last year. They come in at number 4. Winnipeg drops to number 5, but they're still a playoff team in my eyes. Connor Hellenbuck is just too good of a regular season goaltender, and they have enough pieces in front of them with Kyle Connor and Ehlers, I think, to at least sneak back in as a playoff team, because Hellenbuck's going to keep them in to the very end. I got the Blues at 6. They hang around. I'm really high on Utah, but I don't know if this is the year. They finished 7th, and then Chicago comes in at number 8, even though I really like the changes they have made in the offseason. Those are my Central predictions. Dallas Stars finish first. They repeat for the first time as division champions since, I believe it was 99-2000. Stars 50, 23-9. It goes Colorado, Nashville, Wild, Jets, St. Louis Blues, Utah Hockey Club, and then Chicago. Let's go ahead and segue into the West as a whole. I think the Stars finished second. Edmonton wins the West this time. I predicted them to win the West last season, and if they didn't get off to a putrid start, they probably would have won it. And they still gave some teams a run for their money late, but they're not going to get off to that bad of a start this season. It's just not going to happen. And they bring back pretty much the same team as last year, and of course they have Connor McDavid. They're going to be a force to be reckoned with. They are the popular pick in the West right now. And out in the East, it's the Rangers. That's a really, really popular team. You look at all the simulations and predictions from NHL Network and stuff. Edmonton and New York seems to be the popular pick for the Stanley Cup Final. So I got Edmonton coming in at first. So these are 8 playoff teams in the West from my eyes. Edmonton, Dallas, then Vancouver at 3. So they'll be the second seed in the Pacific. Colorado 4, Nashville 5, Vegas I have at 6. Vegas is a team I just don't think will go away. I don't think they'll go away. I think they'll be okay with losing Marsh, so maybe I'm too high on them. But from what we've seen, they just never go away. 7 Minnesota and then 8 Winnipeg. I got 5 teams from the Central making the playoffs this season. And just on the outside, St. Louis and Utah just missed out on the wild card. So Edmonton, Dallas, Vancouver, Colorado, Nashville, Vegas, Minnesota, Winnipeg are my 8 playoff teams in the West this season. So Minnesota jumps in. LA falls out. That would be the team that gets in and gets out. So that's where I stand. And then the rest of the West, you got LA after Utah, who finishes 10th. LA, Calgary, Seattle, Chicago, Anaheim. And then I have San Jose at the bottom, even though they'll have an interesting team, of course, with Macklin Celebrini. They'll be fun to watch, but I don't know if there's going to be a ton of winning happening in the West for San Jose. Look, I think the Central is going to be really deep. I think Dallas is going to have their hands full. I don't know if they – I don't think they win the West in their current iteration is what I'll say. Post-deadline, they bring in another right-handed defenseman, Chris Tanev type. Dallas could easily win the West, right? I have to base my decisions off what we have on paper right now and the opening night roster, and Bort could miss some time. So, and I don't think that's going to hamper them massively, but from what we see right now, I think Dallas is still top 3 in the Central. I think they have a really good shot to win it. Colorado, I think, regresses. Nashville's that team that makes a big jump, and I think Minnesota kind of jumps back into the conversation as well. A lot of question marks with a lot of these teams. And for as much as I share my concerns about the Stars defense, when you look around the West even, or you just look around the league, Dallas still has a pretty nice decor. And I know we have concerns and there are some issues with Matt Dumba and Lyubushkin just slotting in at a top 4 role. But look, every team's not blessed. And look, I probably sound like a spoiled brat sometimes over the past few months about this Stars defense, but you have to like their high-end talent with Harley and Heiskanen, who's going to carry the majority of the load. Yeah, they don't have an excessive amount of depth, but who really does in a lot of ways? Like Colorado has good depth on their back end. Colorado has really good depth. I think you would put Vegas at number probably 2 in that conversation. Colorado and Vegas probably have the best defenses or D-cores in the West. And the Stars are probably right there, like behind them, right? Like 3rd or 4th with, you could probably the Winnipeg in there or Nashville now. Probably Nashville over Winnipeg. So, the Stars are still there. I've sounded like a broken record over the past few months. Like where are the Stars? Where are the Stars going to be with Lyubushkin and Dumba playing heavy minutes? I don't know yet, but it's not atrocious. I think when you can look from a bird's eye view, right, and just compare it against the rest of the league or west of just the conference in general, you're like, Dallas stacks up okay. And even without Tanev in that series against Edmonton in the Western Conference Final, let's say Bischel was playing or Petrovic or even Lundqvist, you'd be like, Stars aren't that far off from Edmonton, who we don't think has a very great back end with Nurse and CC, So I think I continue to feel a lot better about where the Stars are heading into the 24-25 season. Just to reiterate, in conclusion, the Stars win the Central 50-23-9, 109 points. I have the number one in the Central. They finished second in the West behind Edmonton. I'll finish off the episode with my Stanley Cup predictions and how does the Stars season end. Stick around for that. But first, let's jump into my bold predictions and point totals for the 24-25 Dallas Stars. Who leads the team in points this next season? You may have a good idea. We'll do that in just a moment. Today's episode of Locked On Stars is brought to you by FanDuel. Hey, NFL fans, you can start the season with a big return on FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. So when you get a hunch in the middle of the game, you can check out the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more on the same page where you place your bet. The best part about FanDuel is you'll get $200 in bonus bets guaranteed when you place your first $5 bet. That is right. $200 in bonus bets guaranteed when you place your first $5 bet. You don't even have to win it. Sundays are meant for football and making money, so get in on the action with FanDuel while you're watching the Dallas Cowboys this weekend. Once again, $200 in bonus bets guaranteed when you place your first $5 bet. That's FanDuel. FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Alrighty, let's jump into point totals. Who are the top 3 scorers for the Dallas Stars in 24-25? And I have 3 bold predictions. I think they're out there. I really do. I tried to make them pretty bold and not predictions that are really likely to happen. I tried to be bold. You'll have to let me know in the comments below. And let me know your bold predictions for next season. Would love to hear those in the comments below. Let's start with the point totals. Number 1, to no surprise, I think, Jason Robertson. Robertson, for me, leads the team in scoring for the 3rd straight season. He reaches the 100-point plateau for the second time in his career. He doesn't get back to 109, but he gets 102. I think the offense just has so much depth. And yes, Robo's going to play a lot of minutes, especially on the power play, but there's just too many options, I think, for him to be sort of a runaway candidate like we saw a few seasons ago. So Robertson, 102 points. Of course, he gets over 30 goals. I think he hits 40 again. I think he gets there. He has a big season. And Robertson kind of leads the offense into next season. Behind him is Wyatt Johnston. Johnston establishes himself as an NHL superstar with the likes of Robertson. He gets to a point a game. Had 65 last season. He's going to crack over 30 again. 83 points is where I have Wyatt Johnston. So, I mean, still a good, 19 points off of Robertson. But I like Johnston playing on the top line. He's going to be on power play number 1. He'll be on unit 1. And for the first time really in his career, he's going to get a lot of those minutes. Johnston is a point per game at 83 points. He gets over 30 as well, along with this guy at number 3. We haven't talked a lot about him really over the summer, and we haven't talked about him a lot in training camp, and that's a good thing. That's a good thing. Roope Hintz. That's a good thing. Roope Hintz. You know why? We haven't had any injury issues. He hasn't been banged up. He's at practice, played in a few preseason games. He's been around, but there's not a lot of news coming out about Roope Hintz, number 24, and that is a damn good thing. Roope Hintz gets 74 points. It's not a career high. 74 points. He cracks over 30, and for the 3rd straight season, he has over 30 goals, and he matches Mike Modano for the most consecutive seasons with 30-plus goals. Rope Hintz. That's where I have him. 74 points. It's not a career high. I think that trio, who we think is going to be the top line for the majority of the season, Robo, Johnson, and Rope, they sort of reincarnate themselves as when Pavelski was a part of that duo. With Johnson added to it, this line is not going to be able to be stopped, and they are going to dominate on most nights. Robertson, 102 points. Wyatt Johnson, 83. Rope Hintz at 74. Those are my point total predictions for next season, and they all crack over 30 goals. So there you go. And the Stars had, I think 8 plus 20 goal scorers last season. So there's 3 of them right there. And I think they finished with just one person over 30, if I'm mistaken. No, it would have been 2, with Johnston and Rope. They both got 30. So I'm adding Robo to that, and that just feels standard. And Robo's at 29. I mean, one more he gets there as well. These are my bold predictions as we segue into this. I'm going to add another player to this 30 goal list. So there's going to be 4 the Stars are going to have. Mason Marchment gets 30 goals. That's my first bold prediction for 24-25. Mason Marchment, he had 22 last season. He really, really, really had a bounce back year after a less than average first season in Dallas. But there were a lot of factors, I think, that contributed to that. He played in 81 games last season. Marchment, I think it gets 30. That's going to be my bold prediction. I think that would surprise a lot of people because he's not necessarily a finisher in a lot of ways. He's more of that forechecker on that line along with Duchesne and Seguin. They say it all the time. He's the best forechecker in the entire league. If he stays out of the box enough and Duchesne and Seguin are rolling, I got 30 for Mason Marchment. That's my first bold prediction for the Stars. Number 2, Jake Ottinger leads the league in save percentage. Not wins, not starts. He'll probably pick up a ton of wins. Otter leads the league in save percentage. That'll be tough, of course. Last season, you look, Anthony Stolarz had a .925 save percentage. Connor Hellenbuck was .921, Varlamov .918, and Demko was .918. Swayman was .916. That'll be a big task for Ottinger. In his first full season, he did have a 919 save percentage in 23, and he played 62 games during that campaign. So he's going to have to match basically his career high to even be in that conversation. It's going to have to be around 919. Jake Ottinger leads the league in save percentage. That is my second bold prediction. Maybe that's not huge from what we've seen from him, but I think after last year, I think that's fair to say it's at least bold enough. Number 3, and maybe this is the boldest of them all, out of all of them, Nils Lundkvist plays 70-plus games. Nils Lundkvist plays 70-plus games this season. He's never played more than 60, and we know the history. We already know the history. He plays 70-plus games. That's my bold prediction. And the reason I feel that this is doable is because if Dallas does not make a trade early, and let's say Bichsel spends time in the AHL till, let's say, February, right? I think Lundkvist is a better option than Brendan Smith. Who will be the 7th defenseman, your Joel Hanley type. I think Lundkvist will get the majority of the starts this season and play the most until possibly Bichsel comes up or possibly they make a deadline move. Still, that's a lot of games, of course. I mean, 70-plus games. I mean, he gets scratched, a few weeks. I mean, that's pretty much not going to hit. But that's my third bold prediction, and that may be the boldest of them all. Maybe Lundkvist gains some trust. Maybe the coaching staff lets him go, and we see Lundkvist for 70-plus games, and maybe that's a good thing for the Dallas Stars. Maybe we find out what we have and Mr. Niels. So those are my bold predictions. Mason Marchment hits 30 goals this season. Jake Ottinger leads the league in save percentage. Niels Lundqvist plays 70-plus games. Your point totals: Robertson 102, Johnston 83, Rope 74. They all hit over 30. So there you go. Those are my point total and bold predictions for the 24-25 Dallas Stars. Let me know your bold predictions in the comments below. Would love to read them as we get prepared for opening night on Thursday against Nashville. The NHL season kicking off here this afternoon. Hockey is back, ladies and gentlemen. Okay, how does it all end? Where does this all cultivate to? Do the Stars get over the hump? Are we going out and are we saying it? Are we putting it in the universe? You'll find out in just a moment. Today's episode of Locked On Stars is brought to you by Indeed. We're driven by the search for better, but when it comes to hiring, the best way to search for a candidate isn't to search at all. Don't search, match with Indeed. If you need to hire, you need Indeed. Indeed is your matching and hiring platform with over 350 million global monthly visitors, according to Indeed data, and a matching engine that helps you find quality candidates fast. Ditch the busy work. Use Indeed for scheduling, screening, and messaging so you can connect with candidates faster. And Indeed doesn't just help you hire faster. 93% of employers agree Indeed delivers the highest quality candidates that match your job description, and that's what it's all about. Don't spend a ton of time looking for quality candidates when Indeed just gives you the quality candidates that match your job description. More than 3.5 million businesses worldwide use Indeed. So go ahead and use Indeed, and listeners of this show will get a $75 sponsored job credit to get your jobs more visibility at Indeed.com/lockedon. Just go to Indeed.com/lockedon right now and support our show by saying you heard about Indeed on this podcast. Indeed.com/lockedon. Terms and conditions apply. Need to hire. You need Indeed. So last season, I predicted the Stars were going to get to the Western Conference Final. That was sort of my bold prediction. And I didn't have the courage to go out there and say they would win it or get to the Cup or anything like that. I just said they would get to the Western Conference Final. And they've done that the last two seasons, of course, and they haven't been able to get over the hump. How does the Dallas Stars season end? Look, I know in a lot of ways it's felt like sort of a negative off season with what the Stars did dating back to July 1st. But this Dallas Stars team is ready to make the next step. There's an expectation and there's an attitude that the Dallas Stars at least get to the Stanley Cup. They at least get there. And they've gone through the necessary evils of trying to track down the beautiful, beautiful, shiny cup. But now they have a new generation, a new era of Dallas Stars hockey to unleash, led by Jason Robertson and Wyatt Johnston, supported by Miro Heiskanen, Thomas Harley, and being held down by Jake Ottinger in between the pipes. This is the year the Dallas Stars win the Stanley Cup. That is my prediction. The Dallas Stars will win the Stanley Cup. They get over the hump and they finally do it. It's a pattern, and we've seen it before. Teams that get in the mix, they put themselves in there. They go through those heartbreaks. Stars have experienced those. And now they have this new era to kick off, and you still have the old guard there with Jamie Benn and Tyler Seguin. You have enough veteran pieces. You have enough talent to overcome what you lose. and leadership, I should say, in Joe Pavelski, the Foxes of the world, the Suitors, right? They can overcome what they've lost in Joe Pavelski. And this is the season that get it done. The attitude and expectation is to win a Stanley Cup, and the Dallas Stars will win the Stanley Cup. That's my prediction. That's my prediction. The Stars will win the West, and they're back in the dance. Who they play, you might ask? Who they may play in the Stanley Cup Final? I'm going to go with the New York Rangers. I know they're a popular pick, but with Shesterkin hopefully getting signed soon. I know there's some reports now that he rejected a very good contract, but hey, he's a number one netminder, and do you not want to have Shesterkin back there? I think the Rangers are a team that's been in the mix over the last few seasons. They haven't got over. I know they're a popular pick. I'm gonna go with that. Stars, Rangers, Dallas Stars win the Stanley Cup in 7 games over the New York Rangers. So there you go. I didn't have the cojones last year to do it, but I'm doing it this year. Why not? Why not? I am all on board. I'm all on board. And it's not like I say this every year, but why not? The Stars have everything you sort of want in a lot of ways. I know there's some pieces, and they could always have more depth, which I believe and I know they will address at the deadline at some point. Like Jim Nill has shown that. We saw it last year. He's going to find a way to make this team better, but they have to win first and get them in a position to buy, of course, and that will take some time. Hopefully not a ton, but that'll take some time, and he will address it if need be. And I just think with the impacts of Johnston elevating his game to even another level, and then Stankovic and what Bork is going to provide when he's healthy enough, of course, and the back end, for as much as I have some questions, we love Miro, we love Harley. Dumba, I think, is going to be okay. Labushkin, I think, is going to be okay. Lindell's a consistent, solid piece. Don't have to worry about him too much. If Bischel's ready to go, you add somebody else to that. Hey, we're cooking with oil, folks. We're cooking with oil. So there you go. Those are my Dallas Stars 2024-25 season predictions. Put yours in the comments below. I want to hear it. Your boldest takes. Maybe you're not as high on the Dallas Stars as me. Maybe you think it's a regression year, but maybe you think they're ready to take it all. I know many of you have put in the comments before on previous videos that this was the year you chose the Stars to win the Cup. You predicted that a few years ago, that this was the year. And boy, congrats to you. I'm jumping on the bandwagon now as well. And yeah, there we go. That wraps up a Tuesday episode of Locked On Stars. The Dallas Stars and Nashville Predators. Here we go. I got my 2 little mugs right here. We're going to be battling. A little AM Star for you, audio listeners only. Be battling out on Thursday night. I have a belt buckle too, just to show Winter Classic. What a night that was, by the way. Hey, this is going to be I think, an intense rivalry this year. I think we're going to see this kind of flare up. And Nashville, even the last few seasons, have played the Stars really well, but it hasn't been that intensity that we saw, the playoff series a few years ago, and then the Winter Classic. I think this year it gets reignited, I should say, with Wedgwood over there. Not that there's a ton of bad blood, but there's some. With the new additions now, there's a little more substance to those games. So there we go. All right. Thank you as always for the love and support. You guys have been fantastic over the last week or so. Welcome back to Dallas Stars Hockey. We're rocking along every single day here on Locked On Stars. Be sure to make Locked On Fantasy Hockey as well your second listen. I jumped into a league with a lot of my buddies. I have Miro, I got Robo, I got Jamie Benn, and I think that's the only Stars I got Johnson, of course. I probably took him higher than anybody else should, but I'm expecting big things out of him. So I got a host of stars on Locked On Fantasy. Go and check them out. They're actually great. So you can stay up to date on doing your rosters every single day. So get in on the action there as well. Anyways, please be sure to like, comment, subscribe, smash that like button. Tell me how excited you are for Dallas Stars hockey. Have a great rest of your day. Tomorrow, I'm going to have a little Locked On crossover with the Locked On Avs. So be on the lookout for that. We're going to discuss a little Central and West stuff as well. So be on the lookout for that tomorrow. Until then, so long, everybody.